I am so happy to have Beata Seweryn-Reid with us this morning, all the way from Colorado, and she's got an incredible story to share. So, Beata, could you just let us know a little bit about yourself? Who are you? What are you up to? And what should we know before we get started?
Who am I? What a deep question. But I'm a
Can it
love.
really be answered?
I know, right? I'm still discovering that part. But
Exactly.
what I know for this moment, I'm a lover of life. I love to experience life with all bitter and sweet stuff because it's where I get my lessons. But aside of that, I'm a leadership coach and speaker, and I love to help leaders of all levels to not to teach them really, but to show them that we are all leaders. And if we take responsibility for that, and I always say, if you say you are not a leader, so go to the mirror and ask that person who is leading her or him every single day. So my mission is to make people aware that we are responsible for our lives. We are responsible for our results, and to achieve your dreams, whatever you call it, goals, you need to become leader of your own life. And it's not, I always say, not, you don't have to be CEO in the corporation. Be CEO of your own life first, and then it will all align.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. You've got to take responsibility. There may be things that happen to us that are not our doing or our fault, but it's got to be our responsibility if we want to change.
Yeah, life happens and it's not in our power. But the thing is not what happened, but what am I gonna do with it? So
Yeah.
it's still going back to the responsibility.
Right. How you respond. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am always curious about what gets people to this place. Obviously, when we get to a certain age, we have a level of self realization, self discovery, and it takes a lifetime to get there. So let's go back to the beginning and find out where little Beata was born and what happened maybe in the first couple of years of your life that you think might be significant.
Absolutely. And definitely, I have events that defined me, who I am today. But I love that you said it takes a lifetime. Exactly. It takes a lifetime. I'm still learning, but your audience already can hear that I'm not necessarily American. So I'm Polish born and American made.
Mhm.
And going back to where little Beata comes from. So I was born and grew up back in Poland during communism. So very tough times when I talked to people and they asked me how was it. I was small, so I didn't understand everything. But what I saw, observed, and experienced, it was the worst leadership you can imagine. So it where my root and love for leadership started. I always was questioning my mom why we cannot leave that country, why we cannot go somewhere there where it's better, where we can say what we think, we can express who we are. We can do whatever we want and don't be limited. I had huge imagination. So I always imagined the walls around my country, and the walls were so strong that we cannot go, but they are invisible. Basically, we could leave, but the walls were there. We are stuck. We cannot go anywhere, according to the parents and adults. And I was always questioning that. And mom, we just should go. We just should go. And she's not, we can't right now. But one day, I promise you, you will be free to go. And it what was driving me as well, that one day I will be able, I'll be free. And it was also the beginning of this very wise realization that maybe right there in this country, I cannot be myself. I cannot be free. Not everyone can be free, but I had freedom of thinking and nobody can take it from me. And I can decide in my mind who I am becoming and who I will be and how I can handle what is happening without becoming a victim and to become a victor of this story that was happening for many years. And also
Yes.
my mom, I think she was my biggest hero and she was so wise for the times we were living in and when she was born during the Second War. So she finished high school, always dreamed about higher education, couldn't afford it. But for who she was very wise. And she, one day when I was still like questioning her and let's leave, and or let's remove this leadership, whatever leadership, didn't quite know what she's talking about, but she said something wise. She said, honey, if you cannot follow a leader, you better become one. That day, and I was really small, didn't understand exactly, but the energy of that words, they came into my heart. And I knew that whatever happens in my life, I have to take responsibility for what will be next, how I'm going to deal with these circumstances so I can be success, so I can move on. You can have all this information, you can have all this wisdom, but life happens. And what happened at age 7, I had a traumatic brain injury, car accident, traumatic brain injury. Shouldn't really live, but I was still alive. Woke up in a hospital after I don't know how many hours or days. To the conversation between my mom and the doctors, they were talking about my condition and the whatever they were saying, but there was one sentence that really stuck with me, and it was the beginning of the challenge in my life that I had to overcome. And the doctor said, man, you have to understand that your child will never be normal. She won't be like other kids. She won't probably achieve much in her life. If she finish, I was in the second grade, between first and second grade. So I was really small, but they decided right there that probably I won't be able even finish any school, not even thinking about higher education. So first I was like, what does it mean? Like they said that I won't be normal. So your brain goes into the comparison mode. And I started comparing myself to my friends. Then eventually with my mom, who was very smart, she knew all the danger that it was like my condition was related to that. Let me explain. They said that I cannot read, I cannot watch TV, I cannot run, I cannot jump because any stimulate like stress or anxiety or even too much of excitement can cause seizures. So epilepsy. So I was like put by everyone in the box, or you just stay in a corner or lay in a bed and don't move. I was 7 years old. I wanted to experience life. I wanted to leave, play. And my mom, she was scared for me, but she still let me do things or were encouraging me to do things slowly. But it was in the form, go and check. Like you need to see for yourself how far you can go. So sometimes secretly I was reading, I was listening to stuff, watching, so nobody could tell me, don't do it.
Okay.
But this inner voice, you are not normal, you are not like everyone else, was following me for a very long time. And to move forward with that story.
Let me ask you a question before you
Yeah.
move forward. So you had this traumatic brain injury at 7. Do you have any
Yes.
memory before that time of what you were like as a child?
This is a great question. That is the great question. Oh my gosh. No, I do not remember anything from when I was born until the moment of accident. I just remember the little pieces of memory that I really wanted to go wherever my father was going. He said, no, I don't want to take you, but I was by myself and didn't want to stay home by myself. You have to wait for your siblings. They're going to be home soon. I said, no, I don't want to stay. I want to go with you. So I persist and I got into that car and then there was truck hitting us. So I remember that pieces of story that I said, no, I'm going to go with you and I don't want to stay. And the road and when we driving, and that is a really traumatic memory for my mom too, because we were on the way back from wherever we were coming, and I turned and I saw my mom. She was using her bike. She was using bike to go to. So she was coming back from work, And I remember that too, that I turned and like, "Mom," I was so happy that she's coming home. See? And then boom,
Oh my
there
goodness. So
is
your mom witnessed the accident.
the witness. She kept me when I was like out. She thought that I'm dead, basically. So she was keeping me
Oh
in her
goodness.
arms out
On the
for my
street?
my
Oh my
on the
god.
street
Okay,
and waiting for the
ambulance.
ambulance to come.
Was your
Yes.
father injured in the accident as well?
Not much. It's just he hit his arm and so some scratches, but not really. They took him to hospital to make sure that he has not bigger injuries, but now, and I had a big dent still on my right side. It was
Oh
like something went through my skull. So it was bad. So I do
goodness.
not have any memories of except what they told me. Yes. So that is also very important for the rest of my life because on one side, you would like to know who you were. But then if the memories were not pleasant, oh, good for you, you don't remember. It was good and bad. But at some point when I was older and I was educating myself, but I don't remember who I was, but I can create memory who I was. So I decided that I was brave, that I was smart, that I was funny. So I decided who I was, even I don't remember. So it was part of me that, yeah,
Wow.
I was becoming
That's
also.
so interesting. And did your mother or your father say that you were acting differently afterwards?
After the accident,
Yeah. Did they think that you were did they
uh,
see that you had changed in any way, your personality or
that's interesting. I never had that kind of conversation. They, my mom, even she was very encouraging. She was also like, she was scared for me. And it also the effort was that sometimes there was a project and I was all in and she said, be careful. And it would take me back to, oh, there might take a cushion, like something, you are okay in that moment, but tomorrow something might happen. And I was visiting doctors between the age of 7 and 18. They were monitoring me like every single month. So that was later on, it was every couple months, but still, it's like driving a car. You have fun, you are a teenager, you live your life, and then there's a doctor appointment, and
Mhm.
doctor is saying, oh, you need to be careful. So you start thinking, wow, maybe I live too much. Maybe I should be more careful. This all mind game.
Yeah.
Later on, I realized that it was the mind game that it was sometimes that what you were saying that is not mine. It was played with me because what I was hearing from my doctors.
Right. I'm wondering, because you talked about in the beginning that living in a communist country, you could not express yourself. So you are at a time, a stage of your life where you're literally recreating your identity and
Yes.
wanting to express yourself in the way that you are trying to embody. And so, how did that feel? When did you notice that there were certain things you could not express?
When I was a little, I was just observing that my parents couldn't really say what they believed in because they could be arrested. People around me couldn't express their desires because they could be arrested, or people were arrested because of what they truly said or believed. But it didn't really affect me physically, but mentally, of course.
Mhm.
And I didn't pay attention for a long time. But then after accident and when I was growing up and still working on myself and noticing that I have this voice, for example, from accident, that you are not normal, you will never achieve anything. Then I realized that there are cultural also voices that you cannot express yourself or be careful how you express yourself. I didn't like and didn't accept like mentally and my soul didn't accept all of that. So I liked and I guess break the rules. So I always was breaking the rules and seeing, okay, what did happen? And if there is consequence, I will deal with it. So I think There's deciding after my accident who I believe I was and who I'm becoming was stronger than the circumstances. And it was a lot of other stuff. But I was hearing the voices, the negative voices, but very often and they stopped me, for example, for some time. But very quickly, I was able to realize it's not mine. It's not mine. It's what they think, and other people's opinions are not your business. So you have to check things and do things for yourself and see how far you can go. It was my motto, how far you can go. Check
Hmm.
for yourself. Prove yourself, not to them, but to yourself that you can achieve whatever you want. And I think the biggest impact had the books. I didn't have communism and all this poor country after communism. So I didn't have laptop. I didn't have computer or cell phones or anything until I was in my 20s. I was already in university, but I had books and I had access to any books. So I was reading that with passion. And I think it's what also helped me to create my identity to be the way I would like, in a way that it will serve me, not be against me. But sometimes life is life. You think that you are strong. You think that you have this identity or your values established, and there is something that happens, it shakes your identity and beliefs of in who you are, relating to the not knowing who I really am, and trying to establish who I am, and these voices, you are not normal, you can achieve anything. And the other cultural belief that impacted me, it was that you can do whatever you want in your life. You can get educated. And I always dreamed to study. So eventually I got into university. I was studying and all this stuff. I made it. But on the back on my head, it was also, you can do all of that stuff. But remember, you are in a small town and your responsibility, especially as a woman, is to have family and live the life for your family and your dreams. Shouldn't, it's silly to even dream about going somewhere. But I still had that dreams in me. I met a guy and we fallen in love. We were together for 11 years. So I was like, okay, I'm normal. I have someone who loves me. I'm worthy. But there's dreams of traveling. And so I was traveling and educating myself, getting master, first bachelor degree, then master degree. And there was this opportunity to go to United States for the internship. And it's like, wow, these walls, that invisible walls, are open for me right now.
Mm.
I'm gonna go. So I came to the United States for 1 year internship, and I was still in the relationship with that man.
So you were in your 20s then.
I was in my late 20s. Yes.
Okay. So let me just take you back. So the
Yes.
first time you realized that you could break those barriers, the geographical barriers, and get out of the country wasn't until your late 20s.
Yes.
So you were 7 years of the accident. How long did it take you to get back into a routine like going to school and that sort of thing?
Okay. I didn't go back to school for a year, I think, but I mentioned that my mom was very smart for that time. She arranged homeschooling for me. So it
Okay.
was in limited version, but I could still catch up with my classmates and join them the next year.
So you got back into school, and then as you grew and got a little bit older, just give us a little bit about the teenage years. What was that like?
Okay. Okay. So when I got back to school, and it was not easy as well. First of all, I had very short hair because they shaved the whole hair, right?
Yes.
So the teacher said that I can wear a hat, but come on, back in the time, now everyone is wearing hats and it's part of the fashion. But back then, you were different. And I didn't want to be different. But then, even I don't wear any hat, I'm still different. I'm a girl. Yeah, especially back then. Girl has a long hair. And that is interesting that we are talking about that, because in a hospital, if I take you a little bit back to in the hospital, when I woke up and heard or everything, but eventually I touched my head and it was
Oh,
all in Band-Aid.
Oh,
And I like, why all these band-aids? And I took the band-aids off and I didn't feel my hair, only, this
oh,
shape. I started screaming and yelling
oh,
and calling the nurses. Uh, I don't remember. It's what my mom said, that I called their names like, you stupid, you shake my head. I want my hair, because I was getting ready for first communion. And I don't know how much you know about that, but first communion, it was a big thing for a child back then in Poland, especially. You were a princess. You had to have long hair and
mhm.
white dress. And I was bald, basically. So it was traumatic, very traumatic for me, going back to school and showing up as a boy, because oh, you are a boy now. So I had to fight for myself. I had to fight. I
Mm,
had to establish, but I had it in me that I had to establish a standard. If I let them treat me that way, it's gonna be that way. I don't know how I knew it. I had it in me. So I would be very strict and say, one more time, you call me a boy, or one more time, you will do this or that, I will kick your butt. So seriously, I was small, but they were afraid of me. So I established the authority,
yep,
the leadership. And I became the person that everyone wants to be around. But it was a hard work. Did I always feel inside that strong? No. And I had to show myself that nobody can treat me badly.
yeah,
And there were also kids, and very often it's not kids, but what parents were talking at home, but they were just repeating. And I was very sensitive to my grades. So I wanted to be a good student. And so I had to work much harder than anyone else with this condition. And it exam or what test we had, and I had a good grade, they were like saying, oh, you don't have to really study. Why would you even put any effort that they're gonna grade you well because you had the
mm,
accident or you're special? This special had not positive meaning, so I hate it. I studied even more to show them it's not true. It's me. I'm really doing the work. And it was part of the mind game that I had later on.
yeah.
Yeah, it affected me definitely, but I had to always go back to my core values and to who I decided I will be.
Yeah, I love that. You had this intentional creation of an identity that most people
Yes.
don't have that kind of an epiphany so young because they
Yeah.
don't have the circumstances. That's crazy. Is it like high school in Poland?
Yes, we had first to eighth grade at the time when it was like first grade to eighth grade in one school, then high school 4 years, and then university or whatever you decide to. So high school, and it's interesting also because I could go to high school in my town, but I didn't want to because everyone knows me here, and I didn't want this memory of accident and being blessed and being not normal follow me. So I
Mhm.
decided to go to other town, and I was getting there by bus or train, whatever, early in the morning. But I like, okay, I prefer that than staying here where everyone knows me. So this is like manipulation of my own. Oh, if they don't know me, maybe they will think better of who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did it work?
And but definitely at some point everyone found out that I had accident, but it didn't really matter to them yet that they were not. I was attached to the story, not them.
Yeah.
And it was all my creation, that this limiting belief that I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not normal. It was all in me. It's not, they were just
Mhm.
seeing a girl that is fun. They liked me. And yeah, I had a really good time in high school. It, high school was easy, didn't affect me at all. Easy. I had to study hard. I don't think that anything from the childhood were affecting me strongly. The university was more challenging because this belief that the I'm not normal was there strong. And my mom, she got older, and the doctors as well. Oh, be careful. University is not high school. You really need to put an effort, and maybe you go easy. And I didn't want to go easy. Maybe now when I think about that, the effect was that I was hard on myself. So it's, you said don't be easy. Okay, I won't, but I was triple hard on myself than I would usually be. I all wanted to be just straight A's. I wanted what do you call it in that they sponsor you when
A
you have a
scholarship?
scholarship. Yeah, so I wanted that, and so I achieved all of it. The fear was always there. The fear is when someone tells you that you can get rid of fear. It's impossible. It's part of our humanity, but you can work with fear. You can work with it. And that's what I did. I always, at some point, I think it started in high school. I was started to be very interested in self-development and these books that I could read. And it helped me to realize that when fear is there, there probably is growth as well. So what
Yeah.
am I really fearing? And do I want to face it? And what is stopping me to not face it? So I was really aware of that, and it helped me. So in university, nobody knew me. Nobody knew me. I
Right.
could be totally new person.
So you get a chance
And
to start
yes,
again.
yes, definitely. And I loved it. I had a very good time there.
What did you study?
So as a bachelor degree, I was in international relationship, is what the title was. And then as a master, I was studying tourism and hotel management. That's why I could come later for internship.
Okay. So there were opportunities for education and things, even though the government was still pretty oppressive.
So the communists ended when I was still small.
Okay.
So I would say that I grew up more in post-communism country,
Okay.
which was still tough because yeah, we didn't have access, we didn't have money, we didn't have anything. As a child, I experienced like between probably when I was born and like 7 years past my accident, it was still communism. And I have also this little like memories of how it would look like in pictures. I remember the soldiers, the Russian soldiers there with, yeah, the Ashnikov, the guns.
Did you
Really,
notice the shift because you were concerned about being able to get out, feeling invisible walls, not being able to express yourself, but then at you'd said around age like 14 before when you got to high school is when it changed. Were you aware of that change?
I think that the biggest change I saw it was in the middle of my high school, where as a country we could start traveling, and some people were traveling before, but I was in a really small village and small town, and my parents, they had 4 kids. I was the youngest of four. We didn't have money for that. But later, I saw opportunities. And the first opportunity that I took, it was switch schools, yeah, for traveling, but not outside of our country. It was all inside. And later, I think it was between my high school and university, I decided that I will be a tour guide, and I was going to London and Paris. So it was my first like out of my country traveling, but for job, right? I wanted to make money so I can go to university.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So then you got to university and your grades were very high. You were successful there.
Yeah, the grades were high. I was tactical, I think. I
Okay.
always thought, which I mean, I had to have good grades to have a scholarship, but the best grades, I always was putting more attention to the subjects that were of my interest. And I knew that gonna serve me later on. The others I kept high enough to get the scholarship. But yes, so I was pretty successful
And
in
so,
university.
yeah. So by the time you got through university and you realized that you could do this, you had these great and high achievements. Did you start to believe a different story about yourself?
That's the interesting part that where I had actually a thought about that a while ago. I think I was so focused on achieving the next thing and next thing and this back voice of being normal. And normal for me was also successful that I lost the sense of, and I didn't celebrate my achievement. I didn't see really my achievement. It was like next task. Okay, I achieve it, good. You just proved that you're worthy, you're good.
Mm.
What is next? So I was really focused on what is next, what is next. and didn't celebrate or notice what I really was achieving. So
Because you're
very
just
often I
proving them wrong the whole time. You're just
right,
proving the
right.
doctors wrong, you're proving your mom wrong, that you can achieve anything you want.
Absolutely. Yes. So for a very long time, I didn't see myself as successful. It was like normal, just okay, normal is achieving the next step and
Right.
check the mark
Yeah.
done. And so at some point, it was later in my life that I realized that it's my pattern, it's what I have to change.
So you mentioned that around that time of your life, you met someone.
So when I started my university, I met someone and we fall in love and it same town and it was great relationship. And I was like, this is my forever. I still wanted to finish university and I was my dream. So when you educate yourself and you push this comfort zone, maybe the better word is stretch. I was always stretching my comfort zone and I was stretching my comfort zone. I had bigger dreams, right? So
Yes.
because the more you know, the more you achieve, even you sometimes like me didn't see it as achievement, your dreams are getting bigger. So it's when I started dreaming about going and explore world out
Right.
there. There is
Traveling.
more, right?
Yeah.
And my boyfriend and fiance later, he was not interested in that kind of life. Like he was good where he is. He had then he started his small business there and he wanted family and all that stuff. And I was always postponed, not yet. Like I have to finish university, I have to do this, I have to that. Then the opportunity to that going to US came. So I was
Mhm.
not definitely. I still wanted to be together, but wanted the freedom that I didn't have as a child. And freedom is to until today is my and it's probably gonna be my number one value until I will leave that world. So I wanted the freedom of seeing how far I can go and what the world has to offer outside of this Poland.
Yeah.
And I took an advantage of going to US. We were still in this relationship. And so he let me go and I spent a year here. It was very mind opening. It was best time of my life. I had fun and I had money. I had everything. And yeah,
How
like
was
I
it
was
different when you came here? What'd you notice about it being different?
oh, the first difference was that the English that I thought that it's so great, it wasn't so great because then you have all people from different parts of the world and they have their own accent and their own dialects. And I remember this two Jamaican guys picked us up from the airport and they start Jamaican. They have their totally their own language sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, what up? And I was like, oh my gosh, what are they saying? Like, or I was like, is it still English? Like, so it was scary, but it was good. I think first impression was good. I came not by myself. I came with other students, so it was also different because we supported each other, cried together, missing home, but really being happy that we are experiencing life in US.
Where
In
did
a
you
good,
go? Where were you
yeah,
in the
I
US?
came to Colorado, Colorado Springs, where I live today. We work in for a five-star, five diamond resort, high standards. I learned a lot. It was a really great time in our life. We could buy our car. It was the time when I could buy my own laptop for the first time. It was
Mm.
the time when I could buy my own cell phone. So it was great. Every life was beautiful. Then we cried that we have to leave when we had to go back. So we cried
Yeah.
when we came, but then we cried that we have to go back. So I took a year break from my university time. When I went back, I still had to finish my study. And Poland was too small for me. I felt depressed. I felt like it's not the place where I want to live. I didn't see all these opportunities.
Mm.
Inside, I was very unhappy. I was pretending on the outside that everything is fine, but inside, I was very unhappy. But I was like, okay, you will figure this out. And I was continuing my university, but I found the option that every summer I can come back just for a summertime to US. So it's what I was doing. I was always coming back for a couple years for the summer for 3 months
Okay.
and to the same place, same friends.
To
And
work in the
yes,
hotel industry, okay.
yeah. So I was living my dream for 3 months and then going back to
Mm.
reality.
Wow, that must have been so disappointing to know that you had to go back and this was your dream. How did you deal?
I didn't think about that. I think the entire year I was waiting for going back, and I knew that it's like the dream that is not the one that is gonna come true. That so leave this dream, and it was that later on it became my actually limiting belief that life comes and delivers the dreams, but many of them cannot come true because
Mm.
then I had to go back. But it was later in life when I realized that great experience created limiting belief later on that something wonderful can sustain for a very short time,
Oh, that's
right?
interesting
I
that you
know.
that
And
your dreams aren't meant to last forever, that they can come in that they're only meant to be
yes,
short,
yes. So
small experience
leave them fully when you are
when you're
in
in
that
that.
dream, and then you go back to not so great reality.
Okay.
But it was later in my life when I actually discovered that limiting belief. But
Wow.
so when I was going home, and at some point, my fiance, he said, okay, I cannot live like that anymore. You have to stop going to there, or we have to just start. I said, okay. I was very disappointed. I felt like I failed myself, but I felt obligated that you invested, it was almost 11 years. You invested so much time. Yeah, you just need to. There were signs, like as far as relationship, that long time ago we started living separate dreams, but just because the length of time we were together. But the point of the whole story, why I talk about that part of my life, is that I stopped. I said, I'm gonna suppress my dream. I have to live the real life, and it's what the real life is. And the normal people, it's what normal people do. They have families, and that you have to sacrifice yourself for that. And I stayed in Poland. I didn't go back, but the place where I lived, it was a really small town and village, basically. I couldn't be there anymore. So my heart was like, there is more, at least go to the bigger city. And I was trying to convince my fiance, let's go. And eventually he said, okay, you go first and I will join you. I have to close my business here and move it to there. So I found a job in the capital city, the big city, a very good job, like again, 5-star hotel where I was mid-management position. And life was great. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm living my dream again. So that life is good. And then my fiance supposed to move couple months. He's not moving. He's not coming. You start seeing and feeling like something is not right.
Yeah.
And eventually, to make the whole story short, eventually, it was after my birthday and before our 11th anniversary, like he ghosted me. I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And I tried to connect, text, call, nothing. And I left a voicemail that, hey, I'm coming back for this weekend. We have to talk. I know that something is going on. Let's figure this out. And I would never thought that that serious. But in the meantime, he texted me back, do not ever come back. I am with someone else.
Oh,
Here, all my limiting beliefs, all the childhood drama that you're not normal, you're not lovable, you're not worthy, you're not enough, came back like
with a
size
vengeance.
10,
Yeah.
yes. And I was really crushed, depressed, and I had to take off. Like now, when I think about that, it sounds so dramatic and oh my God, you are some kind of drama queen. But it's how I felt. It was
Yeah.
my trauma because
That's
I felt like
traumatic. That's very traumatic. Even
it
as an
is
adult,
loss.
it
It
doesn't.
was a loss. Yeah, like
Yes,
loss
it's a
of your
huge
loved
loss.
one. I pretended to be strong, and it wasn't being weak. I saw myself weak when I was crying all the time. And you are weak, you are not worthy, like who you really are. So it was the time when we call it in psychology identity crisis, identity
Mm.
loss. Because, and here is the point of the whole story, that even that I was in a relationship and I was living my kind of dream life, it was not together. It was separated. And when I lost one part, yeah, I realized later that I was very attached who I should be according to my society, the culture, and what I was when I was growing up, or what I learned. Can have dreams, but you have to be mother, you have to be wife. It's the achievement in your life. So then I started looking at why I even do it. What now? Like I had all these great memories of traveling to US and getting my master degrees, but I'm still no one. If I don't have the man in my life, I'm no one. So it was a very limiting story that I had for a very long time, depressed, was trying to search for help. But also, I think at that time, there was not much help, but professional help. Like one of the I don't remember if he was a counselor or psychologist, but I had appointment and I talked to him and I'm crying and I don't want to really leave. What life has no meaning anymore. And he says, "Oh, you're fine. You're young. You will survive. In couple months, you will meet someone else and you will forget that event it happened." It took it's like throw me out even like more
Yeah.
down. I like
Yeah.
seriously
He
like
just dismissed
it
your
was
whole
so I was
everything
like,
about you.
so I was like, okay, there is no help. I have to help myself. And I was on the very edge of dealing with my depression. And family, they were all and friends, they were supportive that they actually they are the compassion that they felt or empathy was more putting me into victim mode than helping me to get
Yeah.
out of that story. We have a yes for you. And so there was not real help. And after I think 3 years living and dealing with this, like crying all the time, or later on, I stopped crying, but I hated my life. I hated myself. I was getting into relationship just to be in a relationship, but not really feeling. I freezed my emotions, like feelings. I didn't want to feel anything. And it was not healthy. And one day when I think I came back from work and I felt very lonely, I said, okay, there's two options. You can end it right now, but you don't want to do it because your family doesn't deserve it. Or you can find the other way to start living. Because I always say at that time I was living physically, but I was not alive on the inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was the time when I realized that there is one more opportunity to go to US to do the same place for
Mhm.
an internship. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a year break from Poland, from all of what is happening here, and go to the place where I always been happy. It was
Yeah.
my dream place. And as soon as I arrived to US, I realized also that wherever you go, there you are. No matter
Yep.
the baggage that I hope to leave behind came with
Came
me
right with you.
because we're not right
In
in
between
here.
your ears.
Yes, exactly. So I soon realized that I don't really enjoy the job that was offered to me at that time. And my friend that I used to, it's US, everyone is moving. So no one is here. I'm alone again. Then I work and my perception changed because also my story was different. I was not so excited about what is happening. So I attracted also customers or people that were mean to me and would say,
Oh,
is
yeah.
there someone who really speaks English? Or go
Oh,
back to where you came from? Or
gosh.
you are just immigrant. Come on, who do you think you are? Or you won't achieve anything here. It was crashing. And like, yeah, they were right. I'm not normal. I won't achieve anything. They all were right. I don't know. I hated, I cried again. And one day when I had really bad day at work, I remember lying in this small apartment on the floor with a fan around a bathroom gun, and it's my life. It's my life. I go in the circles. Nothing good is happening. I always go back to I moved across the ocean, and I'm still unhappy. I'm still feeling like less than everybody else. And it was the time when I decided to reach out for help, like professional help in
Yeah.
US. The funny thing, I was listening to the podcast and some random podcast. I don't need, I just, you open your phone and you are listening. And there was a lady and she was talking. Like I felt that she's talking to me, like she's talking about my life, like how she knows what there's. And at the end, she said that she was a coach. And at the end, she said that they have some kind of offer that you can fill out the assessment and then you can have 15 minutes call with her. So I started filling out the assessment. Didn't finish because, yeah, like I'm not normal. Why I should do it? It's really, and you don't even speak English. All the stories were tripled in my
Yeah.
head and left for work, forgot about that. But in couple days, I received an email like, hey, we see that you started filling out this assessment and we don't know to what happened. Maybe it's our fault because of technology or and my ego came to the play and that's, oh my God, they cut me. I'm not living to my standard. They cut me that I didn't finish, like I'm a fraud. All like some crazy stories I was there. So I finished the assessment and sent to them. I had the 15 minutes conversation, which was very good. I signed up as a client with them. I spent 6 months as a client and it was coaching through journaling that it would help me
Okay.
a lot. And after that, I signed up with them and certified in their methodology and how I became coach first
Okay.
in US. But it was this moment that broke that belief in me that I'm hopeless, that
Yeah.
nobody can help.
Yeah.
So I
It
mean,
broke the
it's
negative pattern. It
yeah,
interrupted that negative
yes,
incantation that had been running in your head.
yes, exactly.
How old were you around when this happened?
I was already I think, close to my 30s.
Your
Like, yeah.
30s.
Yeah. Because I came, like, I was already 23 or 4 when I came first time to US. And then I was going back.
Yeah.
And yeah, because, yeah, it was my 30th. Also, maybe I was already like 33 because my 30th birthday, my fiance, he decided to start life with someone else. And
Yeah.
then I was depressed, came
Okay.
3 years later to you. So I was 33 when I
Okay.
came to US.
So at the age of 33, you were finally able to break that pattern. And
Yes.
then, and you did that through journaling. And then you became certified as a coach yourself. How did that change your life, the trajectory from there?
That was totally like I started new life. I started seeing my patterns. I started seeing my limiting stories that most of the time were not even mine. I just adapted them because I heard it and I like, okay, they said it's true. But also I could go back to the time where I was this little girl that feisty, the rebel
Yeah.
that was saying it's whatever they say, it's not your business. It's not true. You decide how you want to live your life and how you want decide who you want to be or who you want to become. So I went
Yes.
back to this little 7-year-old inner child and we had a long conversation and we started working together. And I was like, don't be scared. I'm here. I will take care of you. I'm good. And it was the beginning of the big transformation because, yeah, I'm still there. I'm still becoming. I'm not finished.
Right.
But it was that moment when changed my story because the story that we tell ourselves is the biggest, oh, it has the biggest impact on your life.
Yeah. So when you started to change your story and change your life, did you notice that in your outside environment, things were changing? Like the people that were
Absolutely.
coming to you no longer.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you said
Yes.
when you're in a low vibration, you're attracting all these people who are just mean to you, saying horrible things, treating you badly. How did it shift after you were able to change your story?
I noticed first at work. Yeah, yeah, because I started to have better relationship with customers. They were supportive. When they asked about where my accent is from, I didn't react like, oh my gosh, they think that I'm not enough. I started to really hearing, oh, they like
Yeah.
that
They were interested in
I'm
me.
yeah, they are interested and they like that I achieved something because everyone's, oh my gosh, coming from Poland on your own, like that is brave.
Yeah.
So then I started changing also what I hear and just random like friends. Oh my gosh, what did you change your haircut? Did you do something with your face, new makeup? And I was like, no. So
Yeah.
everything outside changed
Yeah.
because my energy on the inside changed. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
what
It's
I also
amazing.
coach and work with people about. It's not about outside, it's what is within. And you have to deal with within. So whatever is outside will change.
Yeah. So then that time in your early 30s until where you are now, take us through that journey a bit.
So I certified in methodology, the coaching through journaling, still had my issue with men. So I didn't want to work with men for sure. I was working as a life coach strictly with women. And, again, my change attract women that were going through similar stories. Broken relationships, divorce, something happened in a childhood, the relationship between parents, abuse, all like the drama stories really were coming. But I was so fascinated to helping them. I was still working full time at the hotel and part time as a coach because there was this limiting belief that maybe it's only two, three people that want to work with you. We are still have your act. But then I was working. I had since then. So the most important part that since then I always had mentors. I never without a mentor. And the mentors change, yeah, because when you grow, you are growing into someone else and someone who is couple steps ahead you and they were changing, but it was helping me to realize and grow into direction where I am today. So I realized that leadership is what is impacting us the most. And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if we are in corporation or at home. And it starts actually when we are little kids and how we observe our parents are leading themselves, the people around us in our environment, even the culture. And it's so then I moved into leadership. And in the meantime, when COVID came, I realized that just a little bit before COVID, I had the opportunity to speak on a small stage and I discovered that I really love it. Oh my gosh. I love the connection with audience and how I tell my story and how it's impacting them. I have
Mhm.
people coming, crying, oh my gosh, your story moved me. And somehow it was related to where they were going through. It really inspired them to do something else with their life. And I decided to educate myself in that arena of public speaking, join the Les Brown training. And so I was in training for a couple months, almost probably 6 or almost a year, and was chosen as the one of 20 best speakers and presented in his online summit because COVID came, so everything came to the being online.
Yes.
I spoke a lot in different summits during the COVID, and it was the public speaking became my goal. It's how I want to share my story and it's
Mm.
how I want to impact the world. I still do coaching and speaking. I'm still building it. I'm still learning, but it's what I do today.
I love it. So this is your passion right now, public
This is my
speaking.
passion.
And somewhere along the line, you must have met someone else because you're
Yes.
married.
Yeah. When I came to US, I think somehow in this first year when I was still unhappy, but I decided I don't want to go back. I'm staying. I have a year contract. I will give it a chance. And it was at work. I already knew that person before, but we talked before, but we never had a relationship. And I remember he saw me in a cafeteria and he said, can I join you? I said, sure. And so we were talking what happened in our lives. He got divorced in the meantime. I got divorced. Yeah, not really. At some point, would you like to have a dinner with me? And that person was like totally not my type. Like I always was going after this macho guys. And he was like totally opposite from what my picture of my man was. But then he's like really of now he knows when I tell a story and he really is what you were thinking of me.
Aw.
But and then you prove different, yeah, because then when we started talking more and meeting each other, I fell in love with his mind, not with
Mm,
his appearance and whatever I was thinking he is. A year later, we got married, and it was, you would think, oh my gosh, the princess story or whatever dream story
the
came
fairy tale.
true.
Yep.
Yeah, the fairy tale is you have what you want, but it wasn't that easy. Like the first 3 years of our marriage were very challenging. He is American, I'm Polish, and you would think that we think the same, like you said, the culture is similar or no. We had a lot of challenges, the cultural challenges. Like even I noticed that people in US are very sensitive and very direct. I say what I see. And some people were taking, and my husband was also taking it like, oh, you hurt me. What would you say that? Even if I would say, oh my gosh, I can't stand that shirt. We have to get rid of it. Let's change your uniform or whatever, your image, let's buy you this shirt. And I love fashion. So I'm really particular about how I look, and I want my man to look good too.
Yeah.
But he was at the beginning was taking it as an attack, like
Mm,
that I don't appreciate him. I always say something bad. I said, how is it bad when I
yes.
want you to look good? But so I had to also work on how I say it and be mindful, but I decided I cannot change myself. I don't want to be fake because you see, you have what, but I could say it maybe in different way and
Hmm.
explain. So a lot of conversation, communication is the key in life, especially
Mm,
in a relationship. So my husband was not good communicator. So we had to work on it, but I was studying, I was already coaching. So I had a good background to help him to educate him and myself how we can make it better.
yeah.
And eventually he opened March. We went to Poland. He experienced my culture and how we talk to each other. Sometimes it's like, why are you yelling at each other? Are you fighting? And no, it was in Polish between my family. We are like Italian. We use hand and everyone is loud and everyone talks at the same time. And sometimes you can feel, oh my gosh, they are fighting. But actually we were having a good time. So he had to understood who I am. I had to get to know who he is with his baggage. He had his own baggage.
Yeah.
He was divorced. I was after a long relationship. And very often we were projecting limiting beliefs about the relationship on each other.
Yeah.
There was the point that I share it openly, but sometimes people, why would you share it? And because it's part of my story. There was a point that we almost got divorced. Like we was like, okay, we should not be together. And we even went to the court for one session. And then I said, okay, I have to go back to Poland for a couple of weeks and decide because he said, let's give each other one more chance. Let's work it. And I was like, no, let me think about that. And I went to Poland, but then he came and we talked, communicated, and together we are now, or next year it will be 12 years.
Oh,
And very happy, and I don't regret anything. I couldn't really, this right now, my relationship with my husband is the fairy tale for sure. It's
great.
the best what could happen to me, the best friend, the best partner, the best husband. And I'm not saying that just to say it. It's true. We don't fight, but it took a lot of inner work on both sides, on both sides.
Yeah. That's interesting that you talk about your inner work affecting your relationship. So not only it affects
Absolutely.
your ability to be a functional person, a leader, and also a partner in a relationship. It's the key to
It's
everything.
first of all, it affects your closest relationship and your affect your family dynamics. I remember that I was in the middle of my coaching and we were still going through stuff. I didn't trust men, he didn't trust women much.
Mm,
So we had all this silly conflicts. But then I'm in this coaching where I was coach and he came home from work and he didn't believe in coaching at that time. He was thinking that this is some woo or some kind of BS stuff.
mm,
But at some point he come home and I'm writing in my journal and he came and hugged me and he said, I don't know what they do with you out there, but keep doing it. I love how you change it. I love that you're smiling, you are getting like happy without the reason. Oh, I was like, wow. So if your husband noticed that, yes, something is changing in
Yeah.
me. But what was changing really, it was me. I started loving myself more. I had to forgive myself for the stuff that happened, but I had no power over. It was not forgiving him, never about forgiving him, forgiving my parents. Forgiveness is always about you. And I learned that forgiveness is about remembering without any anger. And I remember that, okay, we had that tough time, but I also remember that we could make it better.
Yeah.
And yes, and it,
That's beautiful. Forgiveness is remembering without any anger.
yes,
Beautiful. You've talked about so many different things, and I just want to ask you a couple of questions based on some of the
yes,
things you said. I really am struck by the way that your upbringing in communist Poland, which then did change, but it sparked in you the importance of two things. One, being a good leader or knowing what makes a good leader, and also the concept of freedom.
yes.
Starting out with the leadership leg, what do you think are the top characteristics of a good leader?
Being true to yourself, so being authentic and being able to stand up and stand tall and knowing what you can deliver, how you can impact, and do not, even they say or doubt you, you still stand up and stand tall and say, no, I know I have a vision, I will do it. So you
It's
need,
about giving rather than control or power.
oh, definitely. There is a sentence that they say power towards or power over. And power over is the negative because they
Mhm.
want overpower you, but
Yeah.
the
Power
towards people,
towards.
it's
Right.
sharing. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
because
sharing the power.
there must be leadership. There has to be
Right.
somebody who can steer the
Absolutely.
ship. If you're
Yes,
in the
but
airplane, somebody has to be flying it.
absolutely.
And so doing that with benevolence and doing that with a sense of authenticity. I love that you said that because leaders sometimes they will try to be someone else and that
No,
doesn't seem to ever work as well.
if I can say, I always bring that it is the truth. Sometimes when you got promoted and so you got the title, you forgot who you are.
Yeah.
And the title and what you believe the title represents, it's overpowering who you as a human are.
Yeah.
I always talk to my leaders first of all, be human. In everything you do,
Yeah.
be human. So you have to see who this person who you are leading is or who, yeah, truly. So you have to know their beliefs. You need to know what is important for them, what scares them, maybe what challenges they went through. See what makes them who they are today.
Right.
And also don't forget what makes you. And the title is just temporary, but you as
Right.
a human
Because
and
yeah. Well,
forever.
I mean, what happens in those cases is like if you think about a political leader, for example, just because they're the most visible, you can tell when they're faking it, putting on an
Absolutely.
act.
Yes.
You can tell. We think of them as out of touch or not relatable. And that's in any leadership role. When you get to that point, people can tell. And the best leaders are the
Absolutely.
ones who are not afraid to embrace their stories and be vulnerable and share those parts of themselves.
Yeah, and when you do mistake, whatever mistake yeah means, and when you admit it, people see you as themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, so if my leader admitted, okay, I screwed whatever, and
Yeah.
is saying it openly,
Yeah.
but I will do it different
Yeah.
from now on.
Yeah. Well, I
Giving
messed
me
up.
permission, yeah, it's giving me permission to be myself and take risks because in
Yeah.
every job you do in life, you have to take risks. And if you see your leader as the perfect or your leader presents himself or herself as this perfect, knowing everything person, then you don't see a room for growth or
Right.
taking a risk. You are scared.
Yeah.
Oh, he will punish me if I will screw
But it's not
whatever
even
I
real
want to do.
because there's no
It's
one on the
not.
planet who knows
No.
everything. It's just
But
not
I
even
experienced
possible.
I experienced leaders like that, and it was in US. So it was really shocking because at school and university, they always say the best leadership is in US. And then I came and I'm like, seriously, no.
Let me then go into the freedom aspect. So
Okay.
we know what makes good leadership: authenticity, being in touch with your human nature, and all of that is so important.
Walking your talk. Walk your talk is
Walking your
the
yes,
yes. Yeah.
exactly. I always think about that as alignment between what you say, what you feel, and what you do. An alignment there. So the other thing that really was important to you that you wanted to embody was a sense of freedom. You didn't want those invisible walls.
Yeah. And
And
I had them.
yeah, I mean, you had them to the extreme. You actually lived in a place where you could not leave. You could not leave that place. You weren't legally allowed to leave. And then
Yes.
luckily it changed for you and you were allowed to leave. So what does freedom mean to you?
Freedom for me, again, is about independent thinking because they can put all restrictions on you. They can, yeah, keep you in prison, but most of the time we keep imprisoned ourselves
Yeah.
with what we are thinking. But they cannot take away from you the perception that you have. The government was saying you're allowed to do this. You like even the food.
Yeah.
We had stamps. We could have only 1 kilo of sugar per month or whatever. So they knew what is best for you. They knew how much food you should eat, but they couldn't take away from me the dream about the freedom and the life that I was creating in my mind, that one day I will be able, and I'm going to educate myself now and prepare myself for that freedom that I'm hungry for.
Yeah. And
So
literally
it's
hungry. That's interesting you use hungry because you can eat as much sugar as you want now.
it's not, I just bring sugar, but everything.
I think that's a good
Flour, the
metaphor.
butter, yes,
Exactly,
yes,
but it's a good metaphor.
yes.
Yeah, I hope there are people who realize the importance of freedom and not taking freedom for granted, and it makes me think about Viktor Frankl. Did you ever read the book Man's
Yes,
Search for Meaning?
yes, yes. And
Same
I
thing,
love how he talks about that because they can take everything from you, but they can
except
take,
they
yeah,
can't take
your,
your thoughts.
yes.
They can't take your thoughts, and
And what you gonna do with the spots when you feel that you are not free, when you are not free.
yeah, yeah.
But freedom also for me is being able to express myself. And
Yes.
in US, it was the first time I saw like people were dressing like in a different way and like really showing who they are, and they didn't care really, like it's who I am. And I was like, wow. So you can be, and of course it changed with when I started talking to them. They were limiting themselves in the other areas, but
Mm,
expressing yourself is the other part of freedom.
yeah.
You see who I am and it's me. And it's also related to self-image, right?
Mhm.
Because yes, self-image is about opinion of ourselves. Who do we believe we are? But we have actually, I don't know if you read that book.
Psycho-cybernetics?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I think so. When he talks about self-image and that, yeah, and there's two self-images. One that we see in the mirror and
Mhm,
one that we present to
mhm.
the world
Yeah,
because we want to be accepted, we want to belong, we
right.
want to be heard, seen. And
Yeah.
sometimes this outside desire, how the world see us, is covering who we really see in the mirror and who we are. And
Oh, it's so true.
it's
It's interesting
then
because that's a debate about identity. A lot of people think of identity as what you create yourself. Your identity is only self-created, and that isn't true.
yes,
Your identity is comprised of lots of different facets, and one of them is how your public perceives you, people out there.
absolutely.
And it is
Yeah, and
interesting.
it's so true. And how the public sees you, how you've been seen as a child,
Yeah,
everything goes back to childhood.
right.
Like the more I learn, I see how our struggles relate to childhood. I'm working with very successful gentleman right now, real estate, like very successful owner of real estate business, but he's successful and there was no identity or limiting belief in the area how successful he can be in business. The limiting story that he has about is about his relationship. So he
Mhm.
struggles personally in relationship, and it all goes back down to when his parents got divorced.
Yeah.
and he was very small. Like, this is so interesting. The humans, we are so interesting creatures.
We really are. We really are. And it's just amazing that if we're willing to be brave enough to go and look back in our stories, we
Yes,
can find all the answers there.
absolutely. I love what you said. We have to be brave enough to go and look inside of us and find this trigger, the core, the root of what is stopping me, because it's not who we are that is really holding us back, but it's who we think we are not.
Yeah. Yeah. I had someone I was talking with said this, and I thought it was so wise. He said, if you believe you are lost, you're not really lost. You only believe the idea that you're lost.
I love that too. Absolutely.
It comes down to beliefs, and beliefs are just thoughts you continue to think, and you can break.
Absolutely. Yeah, over and over
Yep.
again. And there is the definition of insanity. Yeah, doing the same
Right.
things over and over again, or thinking the
Yep.
same thoughts over and over again and expect
Expect
different
different result.
results. And we all do it
We all
somehow.
do it. We know it.
Yes,
It's interesting because repetition is beneficial if you do it for the positive, but it's also the thing that holds you back when you have those repetitive negative thoughts. So
but
if you could
it's
switch that and repeat the thing that's going to bring you up, the thing that's going to enhance your life and help you grow.
absolutely. I always talk to my clients like, when you start seeing that loop that you are in this relationship, then
Yeah.
you're not. And your next relationship is like basically a repetition of what was before, or other
Yeah.
areas of your life.
When you notice the
You need,
patterns.
yeah, you need to stop and notice the pattern.
Yeah.
Stop lying to yourself that it's parents, it's them, or whatever. No, it's something in you that
It's
you
you.
believe that
Mhm.
it's true, and
Yeah.
it's repetitive.
Yeah. It's
And
you.
yeah, it's, you just go back and look at your pattern, get
Oh my
quiet.
goodness. Yeah.
Carl Jung has said that the most important question anyone should ask is, what myth am I living? I love that question,
Yeah. I love
because
Carl
yeah,
Jung. He's my favorite.
what myth am I living? Come on. And it's the story that we live, and we pretend that it's life. It's just affecting us
Yeah.
without.
It's what we define as what's real life. Like you were defining going back to Poland when you wanted to be here as your real life. And that's so
Yes.
interesting because there's so many people who have dreams of living somewhere else, whether it's if you're in the United States and you want to go move to a warmer climate. They don't do it because, what's holding them back? I don't know. Family, friends, work, or just a limiting belief that you can't have your dreams come true.
Or very often what I hear is, oh my gosh, you moved from Poland, but by yourself. Oh, I would love to do that, go some. And I ask why you don't. Oh, I'm too old. Oh, I have all my family here. So
Folks,
we put the
yep,
chains on ourselves
we
with
do.
the,
We're like an
oh,
elephant
yeah.
on a string. It's so great. So I'm going to ask you what you think are the biggest lessons that you have learned in your life.
The biggest lesson I learned is the only thing that really matters is what you think about yourself and who you are and who you want to become. Because maybe today you are someone that you're not proud of, but as long as you breathe, you have a chance to change it. And change starts from within. Do it today. Don't wait for tomorrow, because tomorrow is not promised.
No, it's not. You had that experience early on where you were faced with a near death kind of experience and you
I
got another
literally
chance.
experienced a near death. I don't know if your audience believes that or not, or what they believe in, but I remember. So the hospital, I don't know,
Yeah.
but the one memory after my accident, I remember like seeing my mom in the hospital, like it's the hallway, waiting for outside of the room where I was. They were operating me, but I don't know if it's a dream or I really see it. I don't know. I was going. Maybe my soul was going already there.
So you saw
But
your,
usually people, they say they see themselves on
yeah,
the table, but I
yeah.
didn't see myself. I saw my mom crying, like she was so crying. God, please don't take her away. And then like she said, like yes, I was doing that. I was traumatized.
Yeah.
I thought that you're gonna die.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's a dream or I saw it, but I really like feel like I was
Yeah.
starting leaving my body.
Yeah.
So
I have no doubt that you saw that. I know other people who have had a similar experiences, and it
yeah.
does happen.
And I remember just saying, Mom, like smiling, Mom, don't cry. Everything will be fine.
Mhm.
And then that's it.
Wow. That's crazy. So what about your blessings? What are the biggest blessings of your life?
The blessings, I think is, I have to start with myself. The blessing is
Mm.
that I was able to decide who I want to become and never gave up. So the strength in me, because we forgot that we always have to start and thank yourself because you go through all kind of shit in life and you forgot how brave you are and how brave you were to go through it. So I'm blessed that I'm brave. I'm blessed because I acknowledge that in myself and I don't give up. Another blessing is moving to this country as well because it
Mhm.
opened a lot of opportunities and people in this country, like you said, living, sometimes they don't see it. You are really blessed living and the amount of freedom that we have still here is huge compared to the other places.
Yeah.
And yeah, the biggest blessing is freedom that I always dream about and not having the invisible walls around.
Yeah. What is your advice to someone who lives in a place where they do not have that level of freedom?
Start exploring what is holding you back, what is the story that is telling you that you don't have that freedom. Is it the story or is it true? And
Mhm.
then take action. And if I can give a exercise for, because we talk a lot about limiting stories, and the one very powerful journaling exercise that I often do with myself and my clients is one, write down what you really want and why two reallys. Because the first really is for everyone else
Oh,
around you, for your family, maybe your friends, I don't know, work, and what you think other wants from you, or maybe you think that you should do for others. And the second really is for you. What Beata want, what makes you want. Be so honest, just write it down. And the second question is write it down. Why don't I have it by now? Why don't I have it by now? And the second question, when you start really be honest with yourself and you read it again, you will notice the limiting stories and the limiting beliefs that you put on yourself or were put on you. And the third question is, what am I going to do with it? Can I do it on my own or do I need help? So, what are my resources? Because you don't have to do it on your own. You always can ask for help.
that's very powerful. Even just as you're saying it, I have a million thoughts swimming around in my head. That is a beautiful exercise.
Thank
So I'm going to ask
And
you my last question.
yes, yes.
What is the most important thing?
The most important thing is being true to yourself and follow that desire that is burning desire in you. Because if you don't, you're going to wake up one day very disappointed and it might be too late. So don't wait till the end of your days. Start working towards your desired life now, today. And there is a saying, the best way to predict your future is to create it today.
That's the perfect sentiment to end our conversation on. That is beautiful. We really have to remember that we are in control. Beautiful.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Beata.
Thank you, Miss.